Nobody's getting younger, and on Capitol Hill, the 119th Congress is the third oldest in history. Now, former White House Chief of Staff Rahm Emanuel is calling for an age cap for all public officials.
There's the president right there. Our next guest has seen the president's foreign policy at work firsthand. Fox News contributor and former counselor to President Trump. Kellyanne Conway is already in Davos. She joins us live from Switzerland. It's in the afternoon. Good afternoon to you, Kellyanne.
Up and out.
Good morning, Foxy friends.
Karl Rove is a former White House Deputy Chief of Staff and a Fox News contributor. I don't know about the Supreme Court, Karl, but he has a point. A lot of people will say that makes sense to them.
Because we've been hearing that
it does make sense to a lot of people. And it's interesting. Rahm Emanuel, the ultimate insider, is attempting to be the ultimate outsider, offering up suggestions like this, which are going to fall, particularly in his party, on a lot of deaf ears. Remember, the Democrats are much older in the House than their Republican counterparts. Take a look at the senior Democrat on the committee and the Republican chairman. And the Republican chairman in each and every instance is going to, I think almost every instance, is going to be significantly younger than their Democrat counterpart. And that's because the Republicans say you can only be a chairman for a certain period of time and then you're done with being chairman of that committee. And the Democrats have no similar rules, so members stay and stay and stay, hoping that their party gets back in power and they get to be chairman again.
We may not like it, but it's their call.
It's not called the War Board.
These are ages. They're ages, right? They come in and you're going to get a challenge to the U.S. Supreme Court. So you can't take that job away from me. He's going to lay out all the anyway, that's aside. Put up graphic number 2. Carl, you've been looking at these midterms right now, okay? On the left side of your screen are the number of Democratic races for the House that do not have an incumbent, okay? Talking about retirement, talking about age. They're at 21. Republicans on the right are at 25. So you go ahead and frame that. Tell us how you see it.
Well, look, people retire for different reasons. A lot of people retire because they're running for higher office or a different office. And you'll notice the key was how many are in races that are up for grabs, and there are essentially 3. So this is not where we ought to be looking. It's one thing that, retirements are important because they suck up money. Let me give you an example. I live in Texas Congressional District 10. Our member, Mike McCall, who's been chairman of Intel, Foreign Affairs, and Homeland Security, is retiring because he's not going to be a chairman again. So he's retiring. And there are like 12 candidates running. I can't even, I don't even know who any of these people are, and I live in the district. And lots of money is being spent to send mailers to my house and to do all the things that you do in a campaign, to send me digital ads, etc. And that's why open seats matters, because they take resources that might otherwise be applied to the general election. What really matters, particularly for Republicans, is there are 3 districts that Kamala Harris carried and the Republican member got reelected. And there are 19 districts that were won by Joe Biden in 2020 that are occupied by a Republican. And I've been taking a look at them. There are at least 10 of those seats that are at risk this year, and maybe more. We've had some redistricting in some of these states, so some of these districts got a little bit better for Republicans. But there are at least 10 of those that are at risk this year. Several of them are open. Arizona 1 is open. But Nebraska 2 is open. But the rest have an incumbent running. But let's be honest, that's where the races for the House is going to be settled, is primarily in these seats that are held by Republicans, but either were won by Kamala Harris or Joe Biden, or in which the race was very close in either one of those 2 presidential races in that district.
Karl, overnight when they flew to Davos, Susie Wiles told the press pool that this will likely be the president's last big international trip before the midterms, and she said there's going to be a relentless focus on travel and on midterms, and that will probably kick off when the president does his State of the Union address at the end of the month in February. So do you think that is enough to stave off history, or is it just too early to know how it will really turn out depending on the economy?
Yeah, it's too early, but let's look at it. Since the end of World War II, there have only been 2 elections, midterm elections, in which the White House party gained seats. 1998, in which the Democratic president, Bill Clinton, had a 63% approval rating in October of that year, and 2002, when George W. Bush had a 61% approval rating in October that year. The president's approval rating today is between 42 and 20, between 42 and 44%. Let's see if this aggressive campaign schedule helps move him up or stabilizes the decline that he's seen in recent months. But presidential approval rating is going to matter, and that's going to depend on the economy primarily and how people feel about their personal circumstances.
About the Wall Street Journal polling earlier in the week, I should say, cut both ways. So, I mean, 8-9 months out. Flip a coin.
Always fun.
Karl, thank you, sir. Enjoy your time in Austin. I hope you escape.